What's up? What's up, y'all? It's JP1. Pretty soon, I'm gonna be more hype about my government name. It'll be Alvin C. Hill the Fourth, MBA. Y'all ain't trying to see me. Y'all ain't really trying to see me. Let me make sure the live is working before I start doing what I do. Okay, so I'm getting notifications over there in YouTube. YouTube straight. Okay, we locked in. I see it on there. All right. I don't like waiting too long when I do these. Let me make sure my volume is good and everything is what it need to be. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? All right. So we got everything good, man. I don't want to like hold these up waiting too long. I see people wait 10 minutes just to get into what they talking about. I don't ever want to be that person. So today I was basically I brung the conversation on myself. So a guy that I knew had did a little time and he was like slipping. So I'm like, man, you slipping, my guy. You know, you can't do that in jail. And he was like, man, you don't think you institutionalized? I was like, yeah, I'm institutionalized. I've spent a lot of time in institutions. Um, and you have to admit that life, the way that you live your life, it has an effect on you. I'll be 40 next year and I've lived a hell of a life. So a lot of the things that a lot of people are not admitting or a lot of people are afraid to actually take ownership of, I take ownership of. And you got to take ownership of things in order for you to work on it and improve it. So if you are living your life and you are not taking ownership of the things that you've been through, then you are usually blaming things on somebody else. If you've been through a divorce, you blaming things on your ex. If you've been through some type of trauma, you blaming things on whoever was around. And it's some of these things were not your fault. It's things that happen while we're kids. It's not necessarily our fault. So I'm not saying that you should blame yourself for anything. I'm saying you should take ownership. And if you are not taking ownership of everything, then you are usually pointing fingers and you are not learning the lesson in things. So some things are out of your hand and you have to admit that those particular things were out of your hand. But a lot of things that you go through in your life are within your scope of um, responsibility, um, meaning that you have something to do with it. So you have enough life at 40 to where you should be able to reflect and understand where you went wrong or whatever you did right. And if you are not able to take these things into account, then you will be stuck at 50 and 60 if you make it that far because you are not understanding what life is about. So it's things that happen to me now that I think maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to get around that. I wouldn't have been able to maneuver a certain way. Life is truly a chess game. And I'm like, look, at 40, you should see some of these moves coming. Anybody that play chess, if you play it enough, especially with the same person, then you get used to certain moves and you start understanding that, okay, if they went here, this is what they trying to do this time. And that's how life works. So as you start getting older and you start getting wiser, hopefully, you are not a 50-year-old that's acting like the 20-year-olds or the 25-year-olds. And any quick math will tell you that those people are half your age. They have not lived life like you live life. So the things that I did 10 years ago, I wouldn't do today. So if you see me behaving a certain way, like I wouldn't have a back and forth on the internet with anybody. Like at this point, I wouldn't have an argument on the internet with anybody. And I would have did that 5, 6, 7, or whatever years ago. So life hands you enough for you to learn and for you to make better decisions today. So in my case, I've did a lot of time institutionalized. So when somebody today, once again, they ask me, you don't feel you institutionalized? And I say, yeah, I'm institutionalized. I spent a lot of time in the institution. And throughout the rest of the day, I actually had to reflect on that. And beyond being institutionalized physically, I have been institutionalized mentally. And that is a worse situation than being institutionalized physically because my physical institution has start dates and end dates. My mental institution is totally up to me. So the mental institution is you growing up a certain way, you having certain attitudes about things. For instance, growing up, they say, F the police or whatever. So if your institutionalism is still F the police at 40, 50, 60 years old, it's a problem because the police are here for a certain reason. Now, you have some bad police that do things beyond the scope of their job. But for the most part, the police are here to help. That's what they're in place for. So it's not F the police at 40, 50, and 60, because at some point you should have understood that what you learned was the wrong thing. Now, if you have an issue with a police and you want to sue them or do whatever you want to do to them, and we've seen police use excessive force and do things that they shouldn't do, but we should not walk around with a F the police attitude. If you ask Ice Cube about that today, he wouldn't have the same attitude he had at 21 and 22. Some of the things that I've learned that were wrong, um, I still I still have certain feelings to them. So snitching. I'm no longer into criminal activity and doing things a certain way, but snitching is still snitching. So even though I am not in that particular lifestyle anymore, I have an issue with snitching, right? And my issue with snitching is that if you are a criminal and you do criminal things with criminal people, you have a certain accessibility and people entrust you with certain information. So you have access to things that the police and other people don't have access to. And for you to violate that that's a snake move to me. So even though I have, changed my life for the better, thank God, um, I still feel like a snitch is like the lowest thing to me. Snitching and raping. I feel like that's the lowest thing to me. And that's something that I may never overcome because in my experience, those are the lowest types of people. And anybody that know me know how I feel about ratting. I just did a federal bit. Anybody that know me know I'm into paperwork and I want to make sure the people around me are of a certain type of character. And snitching is the lowest type of character you could be. Now, I'm not saying if you are a law abiding citizen and something happens and call the police because something happened, or even if you got insurance, if you have insurance and you have to call the police to make an insurance claim, or you have like 50 Cent do lawsuits and you're doing business, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a criminal doing criminal things with other criminals and then cooperating with the police. That's snitching. I don't care what anybody else definition of it is. That's snitching. If you commit a crime in front of an old lady and that old lady can identify you, then you wasn't doing your job as a good criminal. But if you go out and do something with somebody and they get caught and they tell on you, that's not what we signing up for, what we signed up for as criminals. We signed up for a certain type of ethic, a certain type of code. And when people break that code, that's you a snake. So my thought process on that is a certain type of institutionalism. And it's something that I may never get out of. It's no start date and it's no end date to that. Now, the physical institutionalism is something different. When I was 11, I went, when I was 10, I actually went to a foster home for the first time, but I didn't stay there long. I ended up back with my aunts and then back with my mom, maybe a month or so later. So that's not what I'm one of the ones I'm counting. But a year later, I ended up at Star Commonwealth, which is a juvenile facility in Albion, Michigan. So I ended up there and then in a foster home in Battle Creek where I stayed for about 18 months. And um, that's a different form of institutionalism. Like that's being snatched away from your home and everything that you ever known at 11 years old is something different. So maybe I won't get over that. So leading up to me going to prison, I did a lot of other like juvenile stints, Boysville program. I was in Children's Village. I was in Wolverine. Um, I'm trying not to miss anything, but I was in these different forms of institution, like I said, from juvenile foster homes. And then at 18, I went to the state prison. I did 9 years in the state prison. So while I'm in the state prison, a lot of my maturity happens at this point. I'm like 3 months after my not even 3 months after my 18th birthday, I caught this case and I ended up fighting this case. So a lot of my maturity is happening at this time. You got to think of how much you grow between the age of 18 and 27. That's what I did in prison. And my maturity was stunted because I didn't have a regular life. I didn't have the natural male and female relationships that you have between that age. So I didn't have, a lot of things changed in that time. Like I came home to some things that wasn't the way that I left. I didn't see my nieces and, certain people grow up and different things like that. So that was a different form of here they snatched your life. Those are the most influential years of your life. The most like this is when you building your future. This is when you supposed to be in college. This is when you supposed to do things to make sure that you set up yourself for the rest of your life. And I spent those years in prison. So in prison, it's a certain code. I've lived in the streets all my life. It's a certain code. And once you understand that this is you training your mental, like basically my mental was trained to think of things a certain way. Once again, F the police. I've had issues with the police. I've been beat up by the police on multiple occasions because of my mouth and how disrespectful I was to the police because of how I learned F the police. And that's what I carry with me. So I get out of the state prison. I don't get out of the state prison thinking I'm going to get my life together. I get out of the state prison thinking I'm smarter now. They're never gonna catch me. I'm so much smarter. They're never gonna catch me. I did all this time. I learned from some great criminals in there. Like I learned from some top of the line criminals. Yeah, they been caught once, but they got away with a lot of stuff. And the older people took to me, so I learned a lot of game. It's guys that's on my Facebook page that was like real close to me while I was doing my state bid. Like Sincere, he on here, Shaka, different guys that I ran across that imparted a lot of wisdom on me. And I took a lot of even some of the positive things that they gave me, I flipped it and made it a negative because in my mind, I just need to get smarter to not get caught. So I spent 9 years thinking of how to get smarter and not get caught. So while I'm thinking of how to not get caught instead of how to do better and not be in the position of uh getting caught, like how not to do anything to get caught. So I spent 9 years planning on how not to get caught. So I come home and immediately I'm back in the streets. Like immediately. I don't mean I was home for a couple weeks and I was literally right back in the streets. Like this was crazy. Like I'm saying it was like I never left. And it got better than it was before I left because I found me a nice motion. So when I came home, I tell my people, like, I was a drug dealer before. So I said, man, I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go re up, you know what I mean? Somebody, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get on. So And I'm like, they like, "What you looking for?" I say, "Man, I'm looking for some coke. I want to sell crack." Like, I left. That's what was hot. They like, "Man, ain't nobody selling no crack, bro." So I'm like, so what they doing? They like, well, they scamming. So I ended up getting hip to a little check hustle. Boom. So I get hip to the check hustle. I'm not on here snitching, y'all. This is a lot. All this stuff is old, so don't panic. So I get into a little check hustle. Bam, I do that. I may have done that maybe 2 months, 3 months, and the check hustle was too up and down or whatever. Whatever was going on was too up and down. And I'm like, look, this one ain't it. So I get hip to the pills. Now I don't want to go into too much detail about the pills, but I don't know anything about these pills, y'all. Once again, I'm gone from 18 to 27. When I come home, it's the end of 2011. So the beginning of 2012, I get hip to the pill game. And I, let me figure this out. So boom, I figure out the pill game. And I get pretty decent at the pill game. And I had a decent little run. Now, if you had a run at anything illegal, you know that you get cocky. So me having this run, it made me cocky. Now, I don't feel like I can get caught because of how I'm moving. And I say, man, I'm having my way with the world right now. Once again, this is from somebody that did all of his early adulthood incarcerated. So I had bought me a couple cars before my 18th birthday. I bought me some shooters, whatever. Boom. You know what I mean? I'm hustled. So I had me a couple cars, but I never had nothing foreign. So I hustled up on a foreign. I always talked about big ceilings and doing things a certain way. And so I finally got me some big ceilings. And everything that I dreamt of having before I went into while I was in the state joint, everything that I dreamt of having, everything that I talked to the guys on the yard about, man, I'm gonna do this, man, I'm gonna do that. Even certain interactions with people, man, I'm gonna reach out to this and that. And even like, Hell of a had blew up. I've had interactions with Hell of a before I went to the state joint, but he had blew up while I was in there. And I like, man, I gotta get out and reach out to Hell of a. And he didn't remember my earlier interactions. It was cool. But Big He reintroduced me or whatever, but introduced us and I said, man, I'm gonna do things, everybody that I wanted to meet, I met everybody that I wanted to do business with, I did business with. Shout out to some of the movers and shakers in the city. I'm not gonna say everybody name, but y'all know I know like a lot of people in the city. Shout out the kid, the producer, and um, uh, Floss a lot and different guys that make moves around the city. It's other guys that I know that's doing all right, bro, but they ain't really on what I'm on. They ain't, everybody don't have the same type of attitude. So, but y'all know what I do. So I come home, I live basically my dream life, So I'm thinking it's my dream life, but the whole time I'm chasing a Fed bit. Even with the check situation, I'm chasing a fair bit. So, the pill game, I'm chasing a fair bit. And I spoke that up on myself because even when I was leaving the state joint, I was hustling. Like I literally hustled almost all the way out the door. And they used to be like, Jackpot got another one in him. And I say it won't be state. I swear to God, y'all, I spoke it up. And that's how I know how powerful our words are, our intentions are, our thought processes are, because I spoke a fair bit right up. I always said that. I said, man, it won't be state. I won't be back state. And I had my run. And 5 years, about maybe 4.5 years after I was released out of the state joint, I caught this fair bit. So I catch the fair bit. Now, the Fed bit different. The difference between the state and the feds, and the reason that the feds have this very high conviction rate, is because of the way that they do their thing. So the feds, they nail you to the cross. I hear people out here saying they beat the feds, and it's not impossible if they have, if they literally, if they picking at straws, if they like shooting at you without anything, I can see you beating the feds. I can see that. So I'm not like Murder Inc. Irv Gotti ain't did nothing. He can say he beat the feds, but my guy, The feds was playing chess. Like the feds were just playing chess with Irv Gotti. Basically, the feds didn't want Irv Gotti to uh properly defend Supreme. So the feds was playing chess. Irv Gotti, you done nothing to warrant being federally indicted. So you did beat the feds, but it's because you were technically innocent. I'm saying if you guilty, the feds have a 98% conviction rate. If you are guilty and you are one of those guys that's always posting your business on social media, and you are one of those guys that's always rapping about what you do, telling everybody names, you get keep your shooters in the video and all of that. If you're one of those guys, it is close to impossible. 98% is close enough to impossible. But if you one of them loud mouths that's always telling on yourself, that 98% might be 99 or 100. So when you see these guys talking about beating the feds, you have to question that. If somebody tell you the feds pulled them over and or they ran in they house, or they ain't did nothing, you got to question that. Now, I go into that to get into the Fed bit. So after about 2 years of fighting the feds, I get into the Fed bit. Now I walk into the feds and my first bunkie, he's actually on my page too. I'm not gonna put him on blast, but my first bunkie is on my page. So once I get in there and this guy cut up. He cut up, boom, big guy, boom. I come in there fat and out of shape. I came home cut up but these 4 years is looking like I ain't did nothing. So I walk in the cell and he barely talked to me. He barely talked to me, and I don't take it personally because I'm always on the tip of you don't like it, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to talk, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? So I kick it a little bit. He get to explain that he did a long time. Excuse me, y'all. But he tell me that he's short. So he like, look, I done did like 15 years or whatever, but I'm short. I'm about to go home or whatever. Boom. So that was the gist of our conversation. Wasn't a whole lot to kick it about. I self-surrendered. So nobody expected me to have anything. So anyway, I walk on the yard to go get something to eat or something. I bump into a guy I was on the state yard with. And the guy ended up um making sure I was straight until till I was able to go to the store and do everything I needed to do. So and he actually the one that told me about the school in there, about it being school up in the Fed joint. And he like, little bro, you need to get up in that thing. So anyway, I'm in this joint and I'm looking at it like the state joint. So this is when I want to get into the institutionalism. So and I'm looking at it like the state joint. In the state joint, people stealing everything. It's so much going on all the time. So I get in there and I'm like, dang, people leaving their MP3 players all around. It's chargers. In the state, we had personal chargers that you charge in your room. But in the feds, they have chargers like in the day rooms and outside by the phones or whatever. Like it's chargers that's just out, and that was crazy to me. I'm like, so people got to leave a MP3 player on it. They like, yeah, it's what it is. And it was cases of sometimes things coming up missing, but it wasn't a whole lot like it was in the state. In the state, you either had to fight for something, be cool, or you had to have enough respect from guys for them not to run in your stuff. It literally was stealing all day. But that I go to, because that was like a temporary unit. I go to the real unit. So once I go to the real unit, the dude that was my first celly, end up coming over there too. And when he get over there, um, we end up being all right. Like we cool. Like I say on my page now, me and him ended up being real cool. Worked out together a couple times. Like he was straight. And the difference was I came with that paperwork. So when I started to see that it was kind of loose and it was people not being held to any standards, I had the same attitude he had. I wasn't as friendly with everybody once I seen that just because somebody walking in and introduce you to somebody, it doesn't mean that they've done their proper due diligence to make sure that that person is all right. So I go through, it was about 3.5 years of Fed time. So while I'm doing this Fed time, I'm I'm learning the ropes. So I go from being, the new guy to me being there a little bit and having a certain amount of respect. And I got the car. My dog Big L left, so I ended up with the car. The car mean this the crew I work out with. So and me having the car mean I get to say who come and work out with me, who don't work out with me. I get to say, I don't hog the workout. So you can come in and make, look, dog, let's do this today. That's cool. But overall, it's my car. So I get the car, and that's a big thing in there having the car. And I've had a certain level of respect anywhere that I went, even when I was a kid. Is people on here that did time with me. Trust me, I've been respected no matter what age I was incarcerated at, because I ain't never been a dummy. And it ain't because I've had some physical altercations and I handle my business, but I don't think that is because I'm the toughest guy in the world or where people respect me a certain way. Is because I communicate pretty good, and it's because I have enough sense to think things through. So even if we have issues, I'm not the person that's you can't come talk to unless you've shown me something to where I don't even want to deal with you. So I get in there, and as time go, I got the car. So now the car that I inherited was a Detroit car. So that just mean that the people from Detroit come in, they looking to work out. I got a certain slot. I run the Detroit car at this time. So I may run the Detroit car from 6 to 7:30. So when people looking, oh man, I like to work out in the morning, it's people gonna tell you, well, jackpot in there. Now it's other people in there too, but you can't go work out with the GDs. Now I can work out with the GDs, but you can't go work out with the GDs. So I'm cool with the GDs too. I grew up, fam. So um I'm straight with that. So I can go work out with the GDs, but you can't because you're not a GD. So and that's how that work um with you being from Detroit. You can come work out with the Detroit guys. So what I did was I didn't believe in just because you from Detroit, you can come work out with me. So what I did was I say anybody with paperwork and they gonna come and show up every day, they can come work out with me. So I got people in my workout car, and this guy's on my page. He from he not from Nashville, but he from Tennessee. So I got a guy from Tennessee, bam. So I might have a guy from Chicago. I had a guy from Milwaukee who like flaked up, bro. And this guy totally weird. But I got a guy from Milwaukee. I got other certain levels of respect to where that's what I'm saying. It don't matter if you're from Detroit. This is what I'm doing. So that wasn't something that you write home and brag about, but I'm just explaining how my thought process is with being institutionalized. My thought process ain't, well, you from my neighborhood, we got to be friends. My thought process is, do you do what I do? Do you work out? Do you hoop? Do you play cards? Do you gravitate to the people that participate in the activities you participate in? Now, what I seen while being institutionalized, uh, incarcerated, I apologize. This time it's a difference. Being incarcerated and being institutionalized is different. So while I was being incarcerated in the Fed joint, what I didn't see in the state joint is ass kissing to the third degree. Like in the Feds, it's like anybody with a little reputation can come in and basically call the shots and do whatever they want to do. And that rubbed me the wrong. But it's nothing I can do about it. So the only thing I do is control my environment. That's why I say as long as your paperwork is good, you could come work out with me. If if your paperwork good, you can come eat with me. I got some of my Spanish homies on the page. A lot of my Spanish homies on the page. If anybody who's locked up with me, they know I eat with the Spanish guys too. I eat with the Spanish guys. Um I eat with a lot of the Chicago guys, GDs and not GDs, whatever, just Chicago guys. I eat with it was a guy from Atlanta that I ate with. Anybody who paperwork good. So what happens when somebody slipped through the cracks? So somebody slipped through the cracks. This is why I made this live. Somebody slipped through the cracks. Now, you could blame yourself. You could doubt your antennas. And my antennas pretty good, you know. My antennas pretty good. Anybody that was locked up with me know that I'm on it. Like I'm on it. A celly come in there. Um, I'm like, look, man, just bring out your paperwork. You good. I've had to kick somebody out my cell because they didn't want to produce paperwork. I'm just keeping it 1,000 with y'all, but this is my thought process. This might have been the best guy in the world, but the fact that you can't produce paperwork, it make me not trust you. It makes me not trust you because the way that paperwork work is this. I walk in, I got my paperwork. Bam. I throw my paperwork on the desk. Now, I'll never ask you to do something without me doing it. So I come, boom, I throw my paperwork on the desk. Hey, go my paperwork, big bro. Bam. Oh man, I'm Muslim. We don't really do. Well, you got to go find a Muslim celly, my guy. You got to go find somebody that believe in what you believe in, because I don't believe in that. And you in my cell. You in my cell. In my cell, we show paperwork so I know who I'm dealing with. In my cell, I would want to talk to your mama to see some character references in my cell. But I'ma respect the fact that you on your deen, you whatever, you Sunni Muslim or whatever you got going on. But you got to the end of the month to find you a Muslim to go jail with, because it ain't gonna work on my end unless I see some paperwork. Now, I could be wrong. I could be overthinking it. I could be worried about the wrong thing, but that's me. In order for me to feel comfortable, I need to see some paperwork. In order for you to feel comfortable, you can see something else. That's your business. You might think as long as they take showers every day, then you good. You could think as long as they clean the room up twice a month, you good. Whatever it is, that's your business. I'm saying, me personally, if I see you bold, I gotta treat you like you bold. So now, me changing my life, am I supposed to let that go? This is what's kept me alive. My instinct is what's kept me alive. I've been in the streets my entire life. My instinct is what kept me alive. So am I supposed to let go of my instinct that I've developed over 20 something years in the street? 20, almost 25, almost 30 years in the street. I'm supposed to let that go and say, well, I'm not in the street no more. So if somebody ratted, I just gotta mind my business. Listen, man, a rat is a rat. If you a rat, then you will shoot your mans in the back of the head. Then you will be in his woman face when he not around. Excuse. You will do other slime ball things. So you being a rat, you will do anything because all you care about is self-preservation. And when you dealing with a rat, you have to understand that when it's time, when it's your time, you will be sacrificed in one way or another one. Let's hope you can make it out this sacrificial situation. But when you dealing with a rat, they have no backbone. Do you see it? What they slide through? They in your walls and all that. Trust me, y'all. Snakes and rats are not the people that you want to deal with. I don't care what line of business you in, whether it's legal, illegal, whatever. So to bring it all back home, when I talked to this guy earlier and I asked him something about him slipping, and he said, "Oh man, you don't feel like you institutionalized?" Hell yeah, I'm institutionalized. My whole life has made me institutionalized because during my life, I have witnessed certain things because of the lifestyle that I was born into and the things that I chose to do growing into my adulthood. I've seen certain things that let me know that you can't trust everybody. I've seen certain things that gives me enough information to know what I'm doing is different. And who's to say you don't want to mess that up for me because of what you got going on? So I have to protect my life and the people around me by any means necessary. By any means necessary. And if you think I'm gonna let you be a rat and come in my circle, you got another thought coming. That's not being institutionalized, man. That's learning. But I know I'm institutionalized for other reasons. I'm institutionalized because I still believe in certain things that was only, it was only technically pertinent in my life of crime. Like the rat thing. Technically, I'm not in the street, so I shouldn't be worried about that. But I am because that's a character flaw. When you go get a job, they talk to you about receipts and they want to know credit checks and they want to do drug testing. They want to do all this stuff. Sometimes, man, it don't even matter. Your credit score don't matter to this job. You not doing like, bro, you might be driving trucks or lifting boxes. It don't matter. But they are literally checking to see what your background look like. And if your background consists of certain things, I don't have to deal with you. And you don't have to deal with that. If your background consists of you being a snake or a rat, I don't have to deal with that. And nobody else does. So you can call it institutionalism, but it's more like survivalism. Because I've learned how to survive. That's it. I've learned how to survive. So if it's anybody in the chat, man, anybody want to ask me some questions, anything, I'm here for a second to answer some questions. I wake up early, y'all. I'm a little tired. I wake up 3, 4 in the morning every morning, even the weekend. I'm up early. Like my sleeping in is like 6 o'clock. If you hear something, oh man, I'm sleeping in. My sleeping in is literally between 6 and 7 o'clock. That's me sleeping in. So I'm up pretty early, and uh, just a lot of times, y'all, we don't even understand what a person been through. Like you could see things and you say, dang, why you making this decision or why you doing this? But like being institutionalized is real. So I came home super institutionalized and not caring about being back in the institution. And I did crazy stuff. And this time I said, look, man, I'm not doing that. And that took a certain mindset, like a switch. And that switch literally was a turn off from being in the feds and watching people with the wrong credentials enjoy certain liberties that prison offered you. And I'm not talking about little punks and nothing. I'm talking about, you know, having things a certain way. And I felt like, if you violated certain codes and ethics, it don't matter what they violated. That's no good. So in being institutionalized, you maneuver a certain way and people try to make it bad. So yes, I may be institutionalized, but I'm conscious. You may have never been to an institution, but you're unconscious. And I always got to worry about you. That's it. So if y'all don't have any questions, man, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night. And I'll jump back on here in the next couple days and drop a little bit more game. But I'm signing off, y'all's JP1, and that's real life.